So then we get on to the other two options. Is he just like a doctrinaire leftist who really does want to turn us into Europe? And we can do a lot of damage on that front. It used to be that the percentage of state spending as a proportion of GDP, which is like a critical economic indicator in the United States, was 34%. In other words, 34% of America's GDP was state spending, government spending. In the last few years, it's gone up to 40%. That's bad. That's bad. That number needs to go down. But if you look at what it is in Sweden, for example, it's 54%. 54% of the economy in Sweden is government spending. That's what happens when you introduce big government programs. Everything eventually grows to depend on the government in one way or the other. That's simply the reality of how life operates in those countries. 54% of GDP, of the economy, of the Swedish economy, is government spending. And what that means is that you've got to tax people an awful lot to pay for it. Yeah. In Denmark, for example, they've got 60% top personal tax rates. If you look at what they call the VAT there, that is like the national sales tax. That's 25% national sales tax. You're transferring more money from the people to the government until eventually the government becomes an ever bigger part of the economy. Now then, if you look at other parts of Europe, in Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, government spending counts for between 73 and 78% of the economy. Now, at that point, you might as well be in Soviet Eastern Europe. There's no point being in private enterprise in those jurisdictions. That's why people get out. There's no point. You're either on welfare or you're running some kind of business that has a big government contract. But if you're just like a guy trying to make a living, there's no point trying to make a living in those jurisdictions. You're best to just take a cab to the airport and get the hell out and find somewhere where the setup of society is not one massive transfer from the productive, dynamic, entrepreneurial portion of society to an ever bigger, ever more bloated, ever more inefficient state. And I think it's an interesting question. Every time Obama is off the prompter, every time he's not scripted, he's betraying. He betrays that is where his inclinations lie, that he thinks it's natural for the state essentially to annex an ever larger part of life. It works to his advantage. Basically, if you turn freeborn citizens into dependents, if you turn them into junkies with government as the pusher, that's very good. That's very good for the permanent governing class. And you get a sense of that when you watch Barney Frank on TV right now. I mean, who is Barney Frank? He's like some no-account congressman. I don't want to dredge up past history, but the only time he's ever intersected with any profitable private enterprise, it turned out to be being run without his knowledge from his own apartment. That's, as far as I know, that's Barney Frank's only experience of private enterprise, and God bless it. At least that particular business that was being run out of his accommodation wasn't asking for a government bailout. They were one of the few enterprises that's apparently able to make it on its own in the economy. But Barney Frank, why is this legislator for life on TV dictating contract terms to executives in private companies? Why? Because he's from Massachusetts. Massachusetts is no longer a functioning democracy. It's not just that it's a de facto one-party state in that it elects disproportionately vast numbers of Democrats. It's that most political races in Massachusetts are no longer even contested. There's no point running anybody against the Democrats. So it's becoming a literal one-party state. I think it's something like only 17% of races are ever contested in Massachusetts. It's got a dysfunctional and uncompetitive political environment. And so we're stuck with this guy, Barney Frank, forever. He'll be there forever. And he's the guy who decides, who goes on TV like some big, comfortable Gulf Emir, president for life of a banana republic, and starts saying, well, the public's sick of you guys. You're going to have to give up your bonuses, and if you come quietly, if you come out with your hands up, and your bonuses where we can see them and confiscate them, then we're not going to leak your names to the public and give them your street addresses. I mean, this is essentially the direction we're heading, where the state annexes such a vast chunk of the economy that there is simply no point in being in any kind of enterprise that isn't connected or dependent on government one way or the other. That's the way a lot of European jurisdictions are.